from ChureBum75M following the trans roommate reposting that it was going to be a very interesting day, and then after it happened saying, we effing did it. Okay, who the heck is that person, and what was their role in this?
Because if you touch shit, you will get banned!
I watched it so sick it made me. For 4 years I had to sit home and watch people screaming at policemen and spitting in their face, and they weren't able to do anything. They just had a grin and bear it. They're standing up like a piece of steel.
FBI now saying there's an extended network of individuals and organizations that they're looking into that may have aided and abetted the Charlie Kirk shooter called Tyler Robinson. This came over from the New York Post, and we also had this interesting report from the Free Beacon, which says that there were a bunch of accounts that appeared to have some foreknowledge of the Kirk assassination, saying they were posting about it before. Now, one of these is probably just a random person posting and posting and posting, but they went through and they chronicled the rest of it. They say the FBI is looking into it. So who was in that Discord group? They say there were 30 people in one of them where he confessed saying, I did it, I'm getting arrested, and then actually got arrested. And so were they all just, other kind of disaffected furries or something? Or was there something deeper going on? We'll find out, we hope. Now, New York Post gave us this. They said the FBI said on Monday that it suspects that the Tyler Robinson shooter could have been aided and abetted by an extended network, alluding to multiple warning signs, quote, that he gave leading up to the assassination. Now, the Post reported on Sunday as well that saying law enforcement was already probing whether he was a part of pro-trans online groups, great, probing the trans groups, sexualized animal-obsessed furries. Others connected with Robinson had advanced knowledge of his alleged murderous plans. Oh man, co-conspirators. The group include the online gaming community Steam, as well as Armed Queers SLC, which took down its Instagram page after Kirk was murdered. Yeah, Armed Queers took it down. The agency is now working to determine if he was actually helped by other people. He did say thank you and is leaving no stone unturned, said Dan Bongino. Now, Bongino said that they're looking into this. Married dad of two. He said, we'll also be dropping a lot of papers, okay? A lot of subpoenas out there to take a look to see if there was an extended network. Now, Kirk was killed single bullet to the neck by a person, Robinson, whose live-in boyfriend is trans. Bongino asked whether there was any possible connection between trans groups and this people. He said, we're investigating that. I don't want to conclusively say we heard a little bit of that clip. There appears to have been multiple warning signs about Robinson going off the deep end. Bongino said, you just laid out some of them. There were people in his network, friends and family, who had stated he had become more political. And this is the gun allegedly used. There's a shooting, location, but questions still remain about how Robinson became radicalized. A relative of Robinson's roommate, who was cooperating with authorities, said they think it's his radical politics. Someone said, I think it's got a whole lot worse in the year that they have been dating. They are big gamers, and obviously they have that group that influences them as well as others. But my guts tell me the roommate did more of the influencing. That's interesting too, because the roommate apparently is now cooperating. And was the roommate also the trans boyfriend? Or we'll have to connect all those dots. But the Utah Spencer Cox, he said on Friday, he was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. Yeah, it was a live-in boyfriend who's the process of transitioning. So this fella. Officials have so far been tight-lipped about divulging exactly what put him over the edge. But Bongino said it was some obsession with him based on his digital footprints, and he called it an ideologically motivated attack. He also said that Robinson had a text message exchange with another individual in which he claimed that he had an opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and he was going to do it because of his hatred for what Charlie stood for. Robinson said, I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. So who got that message? And apparently there's a handwritten note, but Patel says it was destroyed, but that the Bureau still has evidence to show what was in the note. Interesting. So maybe they took a photo of the note. Maybe he has a photo of the note and the handwritten note. He wrote it down. It showed up in a picture he took of something. So they've got evidence of it. Or maybe he wrote it down and it's like transcribed on the, something else. Anyways, so they're looking into it. It's coming courtesy of Dan. Free Beacon gave us more, saying that it's not just about, sort of those Discord messages. They're also looking into these other online accounts who seemingly had foreknowledge of this. So great report over here from the Free Beacon. And the gentleman who wrote this is called Aaron Siberium, coming out today saying the FBI is also investigating social media posts by at least 7 different accounts that appear to indicate foreknowledge of the assassination of Charlie. The post, one of which referenced the date of Kirk's assassination on September 10th, came more than a month before it took place, were all deleted in the days following the killing. Several accounts appear to belong to trans, and at least one of them was followed by the suspect's roommate, the trans boyfriend boyfriend with whom Robinson was allegedly in a relationship. That happened over on TikTok, okay? So you can follow the bouncing ball. It goes from the assassin to the trans boyfriend over to another individual who's posting about it on the internet. The FBI has received archived copies of the posts. According to a person who flagged them for the agency, screenshots of the post have been circulating online, but had not before been previously authenticated. While the posts do not establish that any of them knew or conspired with Robinson, the 22-year-old, several of them mention him by name and fantasize about his death. So somebody wrote this, right, on September 3rd. It'd be funny if someone like Charlie Kirk got shot on September 10th, LMAO. Dang. And then Mushy on September 11th saying, did I? And then, because they want more murder, Mushy comes out and says Donald Trump, December 14th, because they're sick. Now, again, some of these accounts, and I think Andy NGO gave us one good example on this, and he posted over here. So there is this one. So some people just do this. Somebody posted this. This is in the other story. Somebody said September 10th will be a very interesting day. Okay, so let's find this one. Another account on August 6th, more than a month before the shooting, they said, yeah, September 10th will be a very interesting day. After Kirk's assassination, the account followed up with, I plead the fifth. The morbid quip was also reposted by an account named Surebum75, saw Tyler June 30th, who appears to follow Robinson's trans roommate boyfriend, Lance Twiggs, on TikTok. On TikTok, Twiggs has the username right here, Lan Clottle, followers 78, following 236. Churm Berm reposted this. I plead the fifth. September 10th will be a very interesting day. Yeah. August 6th, somebody posted that. So here's another one. Bum75 right there just reposted this. So you can follow the chain here. This Lan Clottle is the trans boyfriend following Churbum, or has a follower called Churbum, not following that person. Someone's following him. That person is reposting September 10th is going to be an interesting day. Okay, so we see all the connections. Now, it goes on. Minutes after Kirk was pronounced dead, Churbum75 posted, we effing did it. Churbum75 saw Tyler. And again, Churbum is following the boyfriend. Yeah, saying we effing did it. Several of the accounts under investigation appear to be associated with LGBT subcultures. What about the Qs though? One individual, Osamu bin Tezuka, used the X handle called FU Josh Incel, I think, a reference to a genre of anime that depicts romantic relationships between men. And somebody else posted this from Osamu. You guys, I have something big coming soon. Just be sure to check the news. You'll know it when you see it. Gulp. And they're talking about it right after he's dead. We covered this one earlier last week. Another user called Najra Galves, who had wished death to Kirk and predicted that something big will happen, posted over here. Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope someone evaporates him literally. And he said, let's just say something big will happen tomorrow. And it did. Who is that? And this was the screenshot. This account got nuked. We went and looked at it again. But this guy says non-binary, greatest of all time. So another trans whatever, they, them, got it. And I think that's a Mexican flag too. I'm 17 and from Mexico. Perfect. Exactly. Maybe an illegal alien too. And in a video posted on TikTok the night before the shooting, another individual who appears to be transgender wrote that Charles James Kirk does not know what is coming tomorrow. Okay, all these crazy trans people. Here's another one. Charles James Kirk, Mr. College Dropout, who's accomplished more than all of these people combined about 1,000 times over, which by the way is a major reason they hate him. Look at these people. Oh gosh. So here's another one. Jackson. So another post says, this isn't a threat. It's a promise. The investigation of the post comes as the FBI is already examining whether pro-transgender groups knew about the plan in advance. That probe, first reported, includes the Armed Queers SLC, whose logo features high caliber rifle bullets. So isn't that just something? All these individuals seemingly having some foreknowledge and connecting the dots, literally going back to the roommate. Okay, that's the interesting one. From Churbum75M, following the trans roommate, reposting that it was gonna be a very interesting day, and then after it happened, saying, we effing did it. Okay, who the heck is that person? And what was their role in this? I mean, there's a lot of evidence here, man. We better get answers to this stuff if they're just like, well, he just did it because he's like a crazy leftist. I guess that's the case. We're gonna be very unhappy about that, and we're not gonna accept that actually at all. Now, there is some other thoughts on this, okay? So Andy NGO, excellent reporter, he says, September 10th will be a very interesting day. So many people have brought attention to this one post, right? Claiming it's evidence. But actually, if you look closer, they said the same thing almost every day. So this is interesting because this might kind of break the chain a little bit, but maybe not really. Okay, so this one account is called All Toolage, and Andy, he's sharing this. He says they kind of post it like every day. Like, see this person? September 30th will be a very interesting day. October 18th will be a very interesting day for Trump. October 16th, very interesting day for Trump. So is it a bot? Is it just, you know, some random weird person? So that account might be off. Churbum75 reposted that one. Okay, so very excited about that one. And then the other one that I think is more troubling from Churbum, who is the one who's following the roommate, is that he said, "We effing did it," after Charlie was ultimately shot. So in other words, like, this could be a bot. This guy could have seen it and just like, "Oh, I agree with that," and reposted that one because it was accurate. So I don't know, or that's just an account who just, tries to like hit it. But the question, of course, is how extensive are these networks and how far does it go? But it's also a new interesting thing is happening. We saw this percolate over the weekend where a lot of us were connecting with our higher power over the weekend to pray and to think about Charlie Kirk's family, to think about our own spirituality, to pray for others who are hurting and mourning this loss. And we pause for a moment of grace in our house of worship. So this one is in some church somewhere. Eaton Thomas says that this guy comes from Alfred Street Baptist Church. His name is Pastor Howard John Wesley. So see how this compares to your experience in your ceremony yesterday.
Charlie Kirk did not deserve to be assassinated.
That's true.
But I'm overwhelmed seeing the flags of the United States of America at half staff calling this nation to honor and venerate a man who was an unapologetic racist and spent all of his life sowing seeds of division and hate into this land.
Listen to all the clapping out there.
And hearing people with selective rage who are mad about Charlie Kirk but didn't give a damn about Melissa Hortman and her husband when they were shot down in their home.
I actually don't even know who he's talking about, to be honest with you. But I do remember that a lot of people were very upset about George Floyd. I know he didn't mention that one, okay, because you could take that one and you could say, well, George Floyd was venerated. I mean, they made him basically like a saint. They paraded him around, gave him like a state funeral, essentially. So he doesn't want to compare and contrast that one. And George Floyd was a crackhead, drug addict who died of a heart attack because he had hypertension and arteriosclerosis, clogging up the tubes in his heart, and was in the middle of committing a crime. And the cops were conducting a lawful arrest, and he was complaining about his breathing in the back of the police vehicle before he was even on the ground. So it's very curious what's happening in these churches, but it's not just that one church. There's another one over here. This is Jasmine Crockett's preacher, apparently. Breitbart clipped this one and calls Charlie Kirk a fake Christian. Right, here's this one.
Get your theology together, because the sad thing is we live in a nation where twisted, toxic theology is poisoning the politics of this nation. Have you thought about the fact that this week in Utah, a white Christian got killed by a white Christian, and then the next day HBCUs were under threat? Now, how did we get in it?
Yeah, we don't know. We have no idea why we're involved at all, and it's just so confusing for so many people out there how we got to this position. And again, they're doing the stupid thing that CNN was doing. It's like, we didn't do anything. We said nothing that was responsible for creating this current environment. It's all just the white people, obviously, is always the problem. So here was another one. This guy is going to get his visa revoked, and so this was some other singer or something like this. His name is Bob Vylan, and he's mocking Charlie Kirk. He says the pronouns were was and were, probably. If you talk crap, you're gonna get banged, he said. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, you pizza. And this is them, okay? This is this dude.
Cause if you talk shit, you will get banned.
Okay, so these are the maniacs out there celebrating, and I don't even know what flag that is, but it's not an American flag, and so it's time for him to go. So what happened was Sean McGuire said, "It makes my blood boil. This is pro-civilization versus anti-civilization. Some people want to pause and mourn and pay your respects, even if you disagree with somebody. Others want to go into their churches and proselytize a political message," which I'm wondering why, they are not taxed. I mean, if it's a political organization who's waging war every day, preaching openly about politics and racism and all the things. It's pretty interesting how that is going to continue to evolve. But that guy's going to have his visa revoked, and I support it completely. We have too many people here in general. Even if you have like a jaywalking ticket, okay, you're gone. Sorry. You are not alone, said Christopher Landau, proud son of a diplomat and ambassador to Mexico, honored to serve as the 23rd Deputy Secretary. He says, "You're not alone, and rest assured that the State Department has revoked his visa so that at least he will not be engaging in his grotesque diatribes on American soil. So pack up and get out. Good riddance to him." him. So that's one. Now, Nancy Mace is also looking into this, and she says we should start defunding the colleges. She says we're disturbed by the assassinations. Charlie Kirk, Linda McMahon. He's a lifelong advocate for free speech, political discourse, political engagement of the youth, post-secondary educational institute, and more. Touch the lives of millions. Now, in the recent years, we have seen some interesting things happen. We got Trump assassination in Butler and more. Now, as the public is mourning the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk, unfortunately, some far-left teachers, professors, and administrative personnel at elementary, secondary, and post-secondary educational institutions across this country have seen fit to celebrate or make light of the horrific assassination, or even to make excuses for it. They do the little thing like, we abhor political violence, but not in this case. Whatever comes after the but doesn't even matter. They can just say it all they want. They could just end it with a period. There should be no political assassinations, but they can't help themselves. So as the public mourns and they want to make excuses for it, this is fundamentally incompatible with our values as a nation, and schools who fail to take immediate action in the aftermath of this event, you must terminate any personnel who spews this hate, which is irreconcilable with the values of this country and should not be subsidized by the American taxpayer. Those who have spent several days celebrating this are defending violence, and this is vile. All it's going to do is beget more political violence. Children and young adults should not be taught by those who excuse political violence, and we shouldn't fund it. So we urge you to protect America's youth from those who would spew this rhetoric, terminate federal financial assistance to any elementary, post-secondary educational institution which fails to take immediate action, and terminate any personnel who would celebrate or justify political violence. From Nancy Mace, which is a good letter and a good start. So here's more from Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She's saying, we want to go after the money too, okay? The money that was funding a lot of this must be stopped. She sent this over to Scott Bessent. So Representative Luna on the 15th of September says, you know, the CCP is interfering with America. And we write today to freeze the money and the seizure of assets, wow, from this guy, Neville Roy Singham. Neville Roy Singham. It's imperative that we expeditiously halt the continued flow of funds and material support coming in from the CCP. Wow. Says this guy does have ties to the CCP, and he has been funding and supporting various extremist entities in the United States. In fact, many people have talked about this. Biden didn't address it. Recently, Mr. Singham's activities, according to a data scientist called Miss Jenica, has expanded to include the foment of unrest and civil disobedience in LA, prompting Trump to call in the National Guard. So foreigners are funding these things. Yeah. Reported that Mr. Singham was the main backer behind the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which has organized nationwide protests. According to the New York Times, Mr. Singham, who resides in the People's Republic of China, has a long track record of assisting far-left entities like Code Pink. He's created an elaborate dark money network which allows him to send funds to a series of nonprofits like the United Community Fund and the Justice Education Fund. They have almost no real footprints because they just pass money to each other. Nonprofit filings also show that nearly 1.8 million flowed from these nonprofits to a Chinese media company called the Maku Group, and the website shows young people gathering in his office saying, always follow the party. Now, they say he's acted as an agent. FARA is set up to investigate these things. And so she wrote a nice letter on this. You can see it continues on saying, Mr. Singham also works for anti-Semitic entities as well. One such organization has shut it down for Palestine. Yeah, interesting. So we therefore request the Treasury immediately look after these groups. Party for Socialism and Liberation, Code Pink, No Cold War. All these groups listed out, including some Palestine organizations and others, Breakthrough Media. Lots of people on here, all foreign money. So she sent that over to the Treasury. We'll see what the Treasury does, but we know. I mean, these networks are everywhere. We saw it. You've seen Data Republican and all of her charts everywhere showing you the disgusting, incestuous nature of how all this works. It's horrific. But J.D. Vance came out and he's saying, I think, what many of us feel after we listen to people castigate Charlie Kirk, can't even pause for a minute to say you shouldn't assassinate people. They have to say, but he's a bad guy, so we kind of can assassinate people. J.D. Vance hosted the show today and delivered this message.
There is no unity with people who scream at children over their parents' politics. There is no unity with someone who lies about what Charlie Kirk said in order to excuse his murder. There is no unity with someone who harasses an innocent family the day after the father of that family lost a dear friend. There is no unity with the people who celebrate Charlie Kirk's assassination. And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers, who argue that Charlie Kirk, a loving husband and father, deserved a shot to the neck because he spoke words with which they disagreed. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years. I am desperate for our country to be united in condemnation of the actions and the ideas that killed my friend. I want it so badly that I will tell you a difficult truth. We can only have it with people who acknowledge that political violence is unacceptable, and when we work to dismantle the institutions that promote violence and terrorism in our own country.
Yeah, and like half the Democrats will say we condemn political violence, but a sizable portion of them will not. And you see JD making the very astute observation, how do you negotiate with people over economic policy or what should be happening in the schools or whatever if they literally want you dead because they think you're a fascist or a Nazi or whatever? Hard to do that. So the only real alternative is to just defeat them and make sure they never take power again. So Anna Paulina Luna is going into it. Ted Cruz is assisting too. He took a break from his podcast. He's going to go clean up the streets, baby. And he's looking good doing it. Go get it, Ted. Nice. Slop it on there. All right, so we also had Trump coming out today, and Trump is understanding where we're at. Now, he is saying this. I know Dan and Cash are saying it. I'm very hopeful, and we're going to hold the tension on this, that this thing does not go away until they're making good on these promises. Here is what the president said earlier today, clipped courtesy of Eric Dougherty. Question was, do you think Antifa should be labeled a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think would start with Pam, I think. I would do that 100%, and others also, by the way. But Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups, yeah, there are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. And they come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE, it's got whatever it is, and they're throwing rocks at it. And after 50 yards, it looks like an old beat-up vehicle. It was just brand new. It was just bought for the purposes. And they don't have to take that anymore. I let it be known. We'll take responsibility. They don't have to take it anymore. And they don't want to take it. They were told by a past administration, it became almost a culture, if somebody throws a rock at you, do nothing. If somebody spits in your face, do nothing. And I say, when they spit, you hit. You do whatever you want. You do whatever the hell you want. I watched it so sick it made me. For 4 years, I had to sit home and watch people screaming at policemen and spitting in their face, and they weren't able to do anything. They just had a grin and bear. They're standing up like a piece of steel. Yep. And a woman, in many cases, women, you can see they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies.
Code pink.
I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, something with Palestine. And I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right? With the Abraham Accords and everything else. But a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. There were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was
He's exactly right that, RICO and some of these other investigatory tools could be used. And I also would very much like to see Congress do something about it. They can start passing piecemeal legislation that will defund a lot of this stuff, or even start their own select committee. Mike Johnson, they have a J6 committee that's being formulated, but they could do a domestic terrorist select committee. And because of Nancy Pelosi's precedent, where they don't even have to follow their own House rules, because judges say we can't interfere with them, you can appoint whoever you want. And then every single subpoena that comes out from that select committee is valid and has the full force of the Congress of the United States. And if you don't follow that subpoena, then what happens is you go to jail, just like Steve Bannon did, just like Peter Navarro did. So we should form our own select committee for domestic terror, subpoena every financial institution that's been funding this garbage over the last 4 years and more, including the NGOs, including the people who facilitated the invasion of our country, who brought actual literal terrorists in here, and defund them, subpoena them. And if they don't come into Congress and give us the records and give us the materials, then you just follow the Liz Cheney precedent and you lock them up. They set the rules. We'll just play by them. And it's all, in this case, legitimate, because we actually have terrorist murderers assassinating our people in America now. So we'll keep our eye on this, my friends. The FBI is going to continue to investigate and hopefully get to the bottom of this extended network, and hopefully there are repercussions coming.